Now we want to see one-to-one relation in action. To do that, let me go back to the project here. In our models, I will add one more model, which will be book detail. That will be a public class, and in there I will add 4 properties. First will be the primary key, book detail underscore ID. Make sure to name it exactly the same. And I have number of chapters, number of pages, and weight, which is in double. Actually, let me make weight as string here, and that looks good. Let me add that to our DB context first. Call that book details add migration. Add migration, and then update the database. Perfect. That looks good. If we right click on the data access and examine the diagram here, great. We don't have any relation between book and book detail yet, but the tables have been created. Now we need to add one-to-one relation. If I go back here, we have a book detail ID property that is needed inside the book table. So in the book table here, let me add that property. So I will add a public integer book detail underscore ID. This will be an integer because if we go to book detail, primary key is an integer. That is what we want here. With that added, if you examine the chart here with EF Core Power Tools, you will not notice the foreign key reference. You can see the book detail ID, it is a basic integer property right here. It is not a foreign key. How do we explicitly define that this is a foreign key to the book detail table? To do that, we have to add a navigation property to the book detail table. So for that, we will say prop here. We will create a property for book detail. Let me call it the same. As soon as you do that, Entity Framework Core is super smart. It will know that, okay, this basically means that there is a foreign key relation that I need to configure between the book detail and book table. Let me show you that in action here. This time you notice something different. We have our book detail ID here, and it creates a new property book detail underscore ID1, which is a foreign key to map book with the book detail. But here also you see one-to-many relation. Let me worry about that later, but why is there book detail underscore ID and book detail underscore ID1? We want this book detail ID to act as a foreign key. For that, if I go back to the book model here, I can explicitly say that this property book detail underscore ID is a foreign key to the navigation property, which is book detail. Now the string that we add here is not the table name, it is the navigation property name. Let me show that if I change the names here to book detail 1, only for reference purpose here, and then let me generate the diagram once again. And great, you can see we have book detail 1 here, and now we only have book detail underscore ID. We do not have the book detail underscore ID1. So what we have here is actually the property name and not the class name. I do not want you guys to confuse yourself if we keep the same name here. So perfect, with that we have one-to-many relation between book and book detail. But what we want to accomplish is one-to-one relation. So whatever mapping we have defined in the book table, we need to define the reverse mapping in book detail as well. So I can copy these 3 lines that we have here, go to book detail, and paste them once again. The reference property that we want is to the book table now. We can add it like that. But this time we do not want to create a foreign key in the book detail as well. As long as we have a navigation property of one book there, Entity Framework Core will be smart and do that mapping for us. Let me show that. Once we save that, if I generate the diagram again, Yep, we modified that and great. Now we have a one-to-one mapping. We have the book detail to navigate to the book detail from the book class here, and we have the book property to navigate to book if we have the book detail. So perfect. With that, we have one-to-one relation configured in our project.